On July 8, 2021, Canadian ultra-low-cost carrier Flair Airlines announced its intention to expand service to the United States. Up until that point, the carrier had served over 20 destinations within Canada, bringing competitive low fares to Canadians from coast to coast. During its pre-pandemic growth in 2019, the carrier had started an expansion to the US, but due to lack of demand, the carrier pulled out of serving the southern market. With the addition of the 737-8 aircraft, the airline is once again ready to expand its service south of the Canadian border. On December 17, 2021, the carrier inaugurated service to Palm Springs, California, from the west coast city of Vancouver, British Columbia. Good morning from Vancouver International Airport, and welcome to an Airways traveler experience on board the inaugural flight for Flair Airlines to Palm Springs. The airline hopes to connect the United States and Canada with more economic airfare from travelers from both of the neighboring countries. Flair Airlines check-in for their transborder flights is located on the far east side of the airport, along with the rest of the United States check-in gates. The check-in process for this flight did take a little bit of extra time, as everyone's vaccine and negative antigen tests had to be checked by the Flair staff. Once that was completed, it was time to head off to the E-Gates entrance, which included CATSA security and the customs checkpoint area. Past security and a relatively quick stop at US border control, I headed off to the boarding lounge. At this hour in the morning, most areas were quiet, and there was a good amount of space to relax. There was a short delay for the flight's boarding due to the time constraint for passengers to clear security. Security opened at 4:30 in the morning, and our flight was scheduled to start boarding at 5:15, which did provide very little time for all checked-in passengers to clear through the necessary security. However, due to the light passenger load on the inaugural service, boarding was a short process, and we were able to push back quickly. The load factor on the inaugural flight was about 30 to 40% full on the outbound and about 15 to 20% on the inbound. Since this was the inaugural flight, these numbers have increased as demand has grown with the increase en route. My seat for this special flight was 6A. I was lucky enough to have the entire row to myself and this fantastic view of the engine. I'll take a look at the seat and its features in the air, but for now, here's our pushback, de-icing stop, and taxi to runway 08 right for departure. Once we reached 41,000 feet for our cruise, we got treated to a spectacular sunrise over the clouds and peaks of the surrounding mountains. The routing of the flight to Palm Springs is an interesting one, having to curve around the restricted airspace near the Nevada border. On the way to Palm Springs, we got treated to the west coast views, and on the northern return, we circled through Nevada, getting treated to their spectacular landscape. The cabin, that seats 189 passengers, is laid out in a standard all-economy configuration. The seat had average legroom, but for me being only 5'7", it was pretty good. Each passenger also has their own individual overhead lights and air vents. Similar to when the aircraft took its first flight back in June, the aircraft still has that new airplane smell, with the scent of fresh leather circulating the cabin. In the literature pocket was a safety card and air sickness bag. Not long after departure, the Inflight crew came around with Flair's Inflight purchase service, which has just recently returned since after being shut down during COVID. All items were available for purchase and included a reasonable selection of snacks and drinks. Although the late meal service was not available on my flight, this selection has recently been reinstated by Flair Airlines. I didn't get anything from the menu on the way to California, but on the flight home I purchased a package of beef jerky and a Pepsi to help quench the hunger from the long day. Throughout the entire duration of both flights, the Flair flight attendants and staff were very helpful and friendly, which made for an enjoyable and seamless experience. A new feature available on board the Flair aircraft is their new in-flight entertainment system available through their app. The service offered some video, reading material, games, and the Buy On Board menu. This service does not currently include any movies or television shows, however it does provide some documentaries and productions from the Canadian National Film Board. The highlight of the app is the access to phone games like Cut the Rope, 2044, and many more options which were all free and enjoyable to use on this longer 2.5-hour flight. Palm Springs is a city of over 47,000 people and is home to many Canadian snowbirds who travel south in the winter for sunnier and warmer weather. The city also has several resorts and golf courses that attract tourism year-round. The city and its surrounding area attract tourists from both domestic and international destinations, which is part of the market Flair is trying to target with the addition of this route. From Toronto, Edmonton, and Vancouver, the Californian city will be served seasonally during the winter months, providing relief from the frigid winter temperatures. When asked about the significance of the new introduction of Palm Springs, Garth Lund, Flair's chief commercial officer, said that Palm Springs is a great destination, particularly in the wintertime. Flair will be the only Canadian carrier to be serving this route from Toronto during the winter season of 2022. The approach into the Palm Springs airport is one of the more enjoyable approaches I've had the opportunity to view through the window. Please enjoy the mountain and desert view as we descend into the area for a scenic approach onto runway 31 left. Both flights arrive at the walkout gates in Palm Springs, which makes for a fantastic view of the aircraft and an immediate enjoyment of the outdoor area. The major highlight of Palm Springs was the outdoor area's pass security that helped connect the terminals and provide opportunities for fresh air while waiting to board your aircraft. After deplaning, the Palm Springs Airport and Flair staff provided passengers with cookies, sunglasses, and a few other things to help commemorate the launch of this new service. Following the quick stop, we were right back on board and headed back to the much cooler Vancouver climate. Both flights were very enjoyable, and it was such a joy to join Flair on board for this significant launch. Flair Airlines has continued its rapid expansion into the United States throughout the last few months and currently serves 6 destinations. The low-cost carrier is now serving Hollywood Burbank, Palm Springs, Las Vegas, Orlando Stanford, Phoenix Mesa, and Fort Lauderdale. That wraps up this traveler experience flying on board Flair Airlines to Palm Springs. We look forward to welcoming you on board our next Traveler series.